Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee L, we're going to be showing you how to install the Roadmaster battery charge line kit for towed vehicles. But before we do that, why don't we just check this out and talk about why it's a good idea to run one of these. So before we jump right in, why don't we just kind of touch base and refresh ourselves on the 5 main parts that we're going to need to flat tow our Jeep down the road in the first place. First one will be the base plate. That's going to provide us with a solid and reliable attachment point. That way we can hook our tow bar up to it. Tow bar is going to be the second part, and this is going to be the physical link that actually connects the front of our Jeep to the back of our motorhome. Third main component will be safety cables, and these are just there in the event of an unlikely disconnect. They're going to keep everything paired together. Fourth main component will be your tow bar wiring. And what this is going to do is transfer your lighting functions from the back of your RV to the back of your Jeep, keeping you safe and legal. And last but not least, the fifth main component will be a supplemental braking system. What that's going to do is apply the brakes in your Jeep whenever you hit the brakes in your coach, bringing you to a more predictable and safe stop. A battery charge line kit is one of those small components that is often overlooked, but it's actually a really important part. And what this is going to do is essentially maintain or trickle charge your vehicle's battery whenever you're flat towing it behind the motorhome. And I believe on a lot of these newer Jeeps like this, a lot of them have electric assist steering and brakes and so on. And so it's pretty critical that those components keep proper battery voltage. You don't want to run into any issues there. Not to mention, even that aside, it would be a bummer pulling up to your campsite or wherever you're going, trying to start your vehicle and having a dead battery. And then you got to deal with, either getting a new battery, jumping it, and so on. So having this small component in here, it's going to keep everything topped off and working the way it should, and giving you that confidence knowing when you get to where you're going, everything's going to start up the way it should. The way it works is really straightforward. So first and foremost, your motorhome is going to have a 7-way connector, trailer connector that's in good working condition. And the majority of the motorhomes out there are going to have that right from the factory. But on one of those pins, it's a 12-volt auxiliary power. So it's for something like this, right? Or to charge a trailer battery, whatever the case may be. So it gets power from the motorhome when it's running. That power comes up through this circuit breaker, which is essentially almost like a fuse, right? If there's anything that happens, it trips a breaker and stops the power from continuing on its path. But anywho, the power comes up through the breaker and then up through here. So we just put this on our positive battery post or jump start post, so that will run back to the battery and keep it charged up. So really not a whole lot to it at all. And which is good, it keeps things simple. One of the questions a lot of people wonder about is if this is going to affect your motorhome's batteries, and the answer is no. It's not going to drain or run them batteries down. The motorhome has its own charging system by using the alternator, and so it's generating the power, and there will be some to spare. There will be some amperage to spare to run back here and help your Jeep's battery. So nothing to really sweat there. And aside from that, it's really simple, but it's a no-brainer in my opinion. You go through all this trouble to set up all your flat tow parts. Having this little piece in here, it's going to keep your battery good, extend the life of it, and just make sure everything works. It's all about that peace of mind for me, and so that would really, help out with that, at least in my opinion. As far as getting this installed goes, it's really not bad. It's a couple of wires. This runs into the 6-way down at the front. So I do suggest if you're setting up the whole flat tow, do this at the same time you're running your other wiring and whatnot. It just saves you from having to run wires twice. But run it up here, mount your breaker, connect it to this, and that's really all there is to it. So shouldn't run into too many issues or add a bunch of time to your flat tow setup. But if you'd like to see how that's done, we'll go ahead, pull into the garage, and hook it up now. For the charge line wire, that's going to get connected to the middle terminal. So back that set screw out, and then that just gets pushed into the terminal there. And make sure that you don't have any stragglers here, that come up. Since this will have power to it, you don't want it to touch any of them other terminals, you know. So get that in there good and tighten down the screw. Once the wiring is hooked up, you can take the dust cover there, place it over the back. Eventually I'll come back with some sealer and seal everything up, tape it up real good to prevent any corrosion, but I like to wait till we know everything's working. That way if we have to get back in here, it's not a big mess. Well, with that in mind, we can get this secured. So our base plate actually came with a bracket here and some screws to get this all squared away. Once that's secure, we can start to route our wiring. I just went up through here, and eventually I'll come back, put some loom on this and secure it, you know, with some zip ties. But just ran it kind of right up under through there. And it starts to go up and comes out in the engine compartment. Our charge line comes right up through here, and we need to hook it up to our positive battery post and our circuit breaker. So this is our circuit breaker, it comes included. I went ahead and mounted this up. Real straightforward. You got this aluminum core support here and just a couple of self-tapping screws to mount that up. And then we're going to cut our wire to length. So believe it or not, this wire is going to go to the gold post, which is labeled battery. You might be tempted to hook that one up to our battery, but that's not how this is going to work in this situation. So we'll cut it to length, and you want to hold on to the remaining piece of wire there. But we'll strip that back, and then I'm going to crimp on one of the smaller ring terminals. That. Remove nut there, slide that over, and put the nut back on. And I forgot my socket wrench here, so I'll just do that hand tight for now. And then this length of wire, I'm going to strip back both ends. One of them I'm going to crimp on a smaller ring terminal, and then the other end will get the larger terminal. So I got this piece sorted here, and that's how it turned out. Small terminal will go on the silver post. And I got my wrench now. This is just a 3/8 socket. And we'll snug these up. And this one will connect to this positive battery stud here. You can remove that factory nut and put this over and put the nut back down on it. I'm gonna try to avoid that just because it's a little bit easier not to have to deal with that. But it can be done. Just if you do it, make sure you keep pressure on the wire to keep everything connected, you know, while you're doing that. I'm just going to take a nut. So I got a nut here that fits those threads. I'm going to slide that right over and just tighten this nut down. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Roadmaster battery charge line kit for towed vehicles on our 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee L.